This show is very close to my heart. It was about, and I have attended, this is the 13th year, I have attended all the 13 editions. And year on year, I have seen this show growing, and God has blessed us in helping this show and the industry grow. It's such a proud moment for me to share with you that franchising in this country is virtually as old as Franchise India is. So the journey of this show growing, franchising growing in this country, and Franchise India growing has really been all together as one. I'll take a few minutes over here to just kind of take you back on the journey of franchising in India as we have noticed it in the last 15 years. As an editor, I have worked very closely, I have interacted, I have understood the offerings of the franchisers that they give to franchisees, the workings of franchisees very closely in the last decade or so. And from where I look at it, I feel there are about 3 larger mantras, I would like to say, that have emerged for franchising as an industry to succeed. And these are not just, I would say, Indian principles, they are principles which are probably true all over the globe. The first mantra I would say is the mantra of universe, or as I would call it, a planet. So these are 3 P's that I'm going to share with you very quickly. So this is the 3 P's of planet, profitability, and partnerships. So for me, the planet is really, we are all individuals and we are part of a larger planet. What happens is that for most of us, when we do our business or when we do any sort of activity, we sometimes try to always understand only the individual part of it and forget what is the larger part, and we belong to a larger universe. It's so strange. When I had moved to Delhi when I got married and moved to Delhi, I always used to find this thing which is thankfully changing now, is that people used to have beautiful homes here, whether they were living in an apartment or whether they were living in their own house. Houses were so pretty. But I always noticed that outside of the house, they always used to be, it always used to be dirty. People would not really care much about what the outside environment is as long as the inner house was beautiful. And when we moved to an apartment, I wondered if everybody looked after their own house and nobody bothered with the common facilities like, let's say, elevators or lifts, then how in the God's name are you going to reach to that beautiful house if you're living on, let's say, the 15th floor of a building? So I think what is most important is that we don't look at ourselves as individuals. And I think this is not just true in probably a residential situation, but true in any sort of situation. So I think, we should only not think of ourselves as I am a restaurateur, I run a restaurant well, I'm a beauty salon owner, I run a beauty salon very nicely. We need to think of ourselves as a part of a larger universe, which is the franchise industry. I always believe that if the universe is good, the people who are living in that universe would excel at whatever they do. But if the universe is bad, they'll only, even if they work very, very hard, they'll only probably just tend to survive. And this is not really what we all want after an amount of work and effort that we really put on our enterprises every day. So I think it's very important that we understand the need for building and the need for going towards building a larger planet. Let me just give you an example here, that if one industry was to clout and tell the government that please extend the trading hours by 1 hour, can you imagine the kind of difference in terms of turnovers, in terms of business that would affect the whole industry? Just 1 hour if the time in the evening, the closing time was to extend up. So it's very important for us to think of ourselves as a single planet, single universe, and for that single universe to grow, each one of us has to do some individual bit in order for the whole industry and for the whole universe to grow together. The second P that I'm referring to over here is what I call the P of profitability. First of all, franchising, if one has to get into franchising or one has some franchise brands, one should not really be into franchising till the business model is largely profitable. And even I think average profitability is not good enough in franchising. There has to be enough profitability for the franchisor, for the franchisee, and sometimes even for the consumer if you have to discount a product and hand it over to him. So there has to be enough profitability into the system that the whole ecosystem can make enough of it. So profitability is, and this is something I'll refer to in I'll give you a reference of American franchising, which is where I have learned and probably respected the whole value system of franchising. And to me, franchising really exists the best in the US. There are so many examples you'll find where franchisees are millionaires and sometimes even billionaires. There are examples where you'll find people, the franchisees, when the system was going bad or when the franchise brand was going down, the franchisees came together, they put themselves into a pool and they bought back the brand and bought the brand up. Why did this happen? It happened because there was enough profitability in the brand for the franchisee to have stickiness to the system. You cannot just say that the brand is profitable. You become a franchisee and you'll profit. And come to think of it, I see most franchises, they are very withdrawn in that. They would say, okay, the franchisee is good enough with a 24% margin or ROI is good enough for him. Why? If there is a system that can give him a 30% ROI or it can give him a 40% ROI, let's give it to him. It is important because the more profitable he is, the more he'll want to stick to your system, the more he'll want to grow as you grow. So it's important that we give our profitability or share our profitability as much as we can with the franchisee, because that is the only way he'll live with us for longer term. And trust me, as if there are franchisors in this room today, I can assure you that if you don't think a short-term plan, but think of a long-term vision, your profitability, your profitable franchise would perhaps be your biggest lead master in the coming times. He'll be the flag bearer of your brand and take your brand everywhere. But what is most important is that you concentrate on making his business profitable. Gaurav always gives me an example of, and you better know him as the chairman of Franchise India. He always gives me this example of a jeweler, with whom he worked some years back. And the jeweler always told him, the owner of the jewelry brand always told him one thing. He said, if you make me successful, then every jeweler, virtually all jewelers, they come from a village called Palampur. And if I am successful, if I'm profitable, all jewelers would come to you for franchising. So your virtue should be that you should make me successful or me profitable. So I think same goes for franchisors also. If they make their franchises, and not just profitable, super profitable. You make them super profitable, they're not going anywhere. They're going to go with you. Even if the systems go down, they'll make sure that they pull the system up. So I think profitability is the second mantra, and give this profitability, share the profitability with the franchisee as much as possible. My third mantra, I would say, is partnerships. While it is really the heart of whole franchising and largely about what businesses are based. I'm an economist by education. I've also practiced economics as an academician for many years. So numbers come very easily to me. But I can assure you, at the end of the day, business is not about numbers. It is really about human relationships. It is how we manage our relationships that would really, and the whole premise of franchising is based on partnerships. That is what franchising really stands for in its true grit. Interestingly, I look at the political environment, where I found best examples of partnerships, I would say it's in politics. You find, we love our jokes on politicians and we love to, do our cracking bit on WhatsApp and so many other places. But, you tell me of examples where politicians, whether they were in power or they were not in power, whether they were, the party was going through a bad patch or a good patch, how many politicians really leave, one party and go to another party? You'll find very rare examples, so people work, they strive hard, they always work together in a democratic environment to make sure that the party always goes up. To me, that is a perfect example of partnership. What could be better than that? Just to reiterate, my father-in-law, for the last 30 years, he has been a channel partner for Indian Oil Corporation. He's very proud of it. Today, he's virtually on the age of retirement. We keep telling him that, you should now exit from the business and enjoy your life. But he just does not want to do it. While the business never probably gave him a super profitability, but it was a very rewarding channel partnership that he's had all along. I know even when I go and meet him and an Indian Oil officer is coming to his premises, it's one of the biggest things for him. He'll virtually leave everything at the drop of a hat and go and meet him. I think that to me is a perfect example of a channel partnership. Now, if let's say Indian Oil would have probably thought very disruptive and said that to hell with the 10,000 channel partners that I have, and I'll probably, it's the age of e-commerce, and I'll probably put up my own direct distribution system through e-commerce, it could have been done. But Indian Oil didn't think like that, and that is what makes his system and his franchisees stick with him for as long as they are sticking. And more importantly, he also had a product, Indian Oil also has a product which has always been in demand. It has always given him a social standing. We need to ask ourselves as franchisors, do our systems promise us that? That is really the whole premise of the partnership which will come through as we go along. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, partnerships are really the heart of it. And I think I'll just conclude this before I, call it a day on the stage over here. I could go on and on. I think I'll just conclude by saying this, that, as franchisors, we don't need to be scared of e-commerce. There was a time, and I think Mr. Nagesh would probably second that with me. Everybody was about 7 years back a jewelry retailer. They were a jeans retailer. They were probably some other kids retailers. And suddenly I find people say, no, I'm a kids brand. So it doesn't matter whether I'm selling online or offline. Or I'm a jeans brand. It doesn't matter where I'm selling. Had Indian Oil also thought like that, they would have been selling on their own. So what's important to realize is that sometimes you need to collectively take all your people together. Instead of disrupting your whole brand atmosphere or environment, you need to say how my franchisee is going to make money out of a system in which e-commerce is fitted in. Why should there not be a business model which says that, I would have e-commerce built into my system, but the last mile fulfillment will happen through my franchisee store. That can be done. I see all kind of business models floating around over here. So why should a business model not be inclusive of the franchisee? That is my question. That is what makes partnerships stronger at the end of the day. So ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot that is going to happen over the 2 days, but I think what will rule eventually is these 3 mantras of 3 PPPs, as I like to call them, of franchising, which will help franchising to be successful in India. And at Franchise India, we've taken a commitment that while we've worked a lot on helping businesses get profitable, we've also helped a lot of partnerships to happen, but we're now going to concentrate on the planet part of the P, which is to build the universe of franchising where everybody can flourish. Because I believe, business partnerships survive because of profitability. And profitability will only happen if the planet is large, if the planet is all inclusive for all of us to make profit. And I think that's really the core of franchising to me. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. I like to think so Franchise India is just a platform in this whole 2-day event that will probably come across. But it is really, your place to find a business that you wanted to start or you wanted to grow and take it to the next level. So as I conclude, I'll also like to share with you that we've added another feather in our cap this year at Franchise India. You probably just saw a video a minute back. We brought Entrepreneur Media which is a global entrepreneurship. They write on entrepreneurship, they write on growth, scalability. So it's a magazine as well as a .com, which we have brought to India in the last few months. And it's a magazine which is very close to our heart. I mean, Gaurav would tell you that probably his only reason of getting into franchising 15 years back because he first picked up a copy of Entrepreneur magazine from a US stand. So it's a media which is very close to us, and we want to further not just franchising, but also entrepreneurship through Entrepreneur Media. So we hope that the way you've supported franchise media for us, you'll also equally give us your support in entrepreneurship. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I would like to thank each one of you for sparing time and coming and joining us, all my expert speakers who are here today and will be sharing some great insights with you. So welcome once again, and I wish you 2 days of great fun and learning. Thank you very much.